Thank you very much, Bruce. It's 8 minutes before 11 o'clock. Radio Factory is the place. And as promised over the last couple of days, if not a week, live in the studio with me, Bobby King. He's going to be co-hosting right through 12 noon today. And this guy has a history in rock and roll. Played with the likes of the Buckinghams, kind of a drag, that quickly comes to mind, and Dion and the Belmonts. Bobby King, saxophone man, welcome to our microphones.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you up here. Thanks for making it up the stairs. And I see you, what, with your grandson, Nicholas?
My grandson, Nicholas, yes. And he's my support. He helped me carry it up.
Oh, you're a saxophone.
I'm older than dirt.
That's one of my favorite lines, too. So you really came up in the era of classic rock and roll.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So it was with Dion and the Belmonts first? Or
no.
Where did it get started?
First of all, we go back to 57.
Wow.
All right. You were...
I remember 57 very well. I was 10 years old then.
Okay, well, I was older. But we were playing all these nightclubs all around the place, dives, all right?
In New York?
In New York,
okay.
New Jersey, Long Island, all over the place.
Right.
And we had an agent who was like Woody Allen. He booked us in places that was horrible.
Right. Well, so, there was the beginning of rock and roll. Just get a little closer to the microphone, Bobby.
I'm sorry.
That's good.
And he finally booked us, just to give you an idea, that I always came up an hour late and $1 short. But he booked us all over these places, in dives and places where there were people getting killed and things of that nature.
Jeez.
So finally, he booked us at a place in Hunts Point Palace, which was horrible. It was a gang fight during the time that we were fighting.
Wow.
That we were playing. So anyway, he booked us at another place. I've got a place, he says, there's going to be agents there, there's going to be record play. I said, you tell me this every time you book us. Forget it. Lose my number. I don't want to be involved with you. He said, but he said, you can make it. He says, I've got record companies coming. I says, no, forget about it. Okay. Right. Well, in any case, he booked us in this club, and it didn't work out at all. It really didn't.
Right. So all the promises again.
Yeah. But go find out that we decided not to go. And he booked a group called Joey D and the Starlighters.
Wow.
And they did the Peppermint Twist in Manhattan at 45th Street.
Wow.
We missed it.
Jeez. Another brush with greatness.
Another shot of missing.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, Joey D and the Starlighters, I mean, even more than Chubby Checker. I think they did it first, didn't they? Or were they after Chubby Checker? Joey D and the Starlighters were
they were before.
They were before.
Yeah.
Great song, and he's still on the circuit, I think, isn't he?
Yeah. In fact, I just got a call from Frank Laverso down in Florida, who played with the Five Satins. He's working with
Freddie Paris and the Five Satins, great group.
He's working with
Still the Night.
Working with a group called the Whitestones down in Florida. Really tight 50s group.
Wow.
So it's nice. It's a great thing. But I remember in 57, we were playing a place in Coney Island called JB's.
JB's in Coney Island,
right.
Okay.
It's now a warehouse.
Right.
But at that time, we were playing, and this long white 57 Eldorado convertible pulled up.
Right.
This gorgeous blonde coming out. And she said to me, are you in the band? I was outside having a smoke. At that time, I was a heavy smoker.
Right.
I said, am I in the band? I'm the leader. So she says, I'm doing a show. Can we go in and talk about it? Sure. We'll do a headset. All right. So we go in, and she starts talking about it, and she's gorgeous. And my guitar player is going off the wall. Gary Chandler, we're still very good friends. He still plays.
Right.
And she says, do you mind if I change while we go to a headset rehearsal? I said, no, not at all. And Gary's saying, yeah, please do it, you know. She starts to change and wound up, she's a guy. The Powder Puff, it was the Powder Puff review they put on that night.
Oh, man, a drag queen.
Yeah, right.
Unbelievable.
Kind of a drag.
Unbelievable, kind of a drag. Now, did you hook up with, about what year did you hook up with Dion and the Belmonts, and how did that happen?
Okay, we were making the circuit. We came out with the Buckinghams, the first, even before the other tunes, called Lobo Loco. I was going to bring you the record, but it's on 45. I don't even know if you have a 45.
You know, in today's radio stations, we don't have turntables. Everything's digital. Everything's on CDs today.
So we recorded that, and we were playing all over to promote the record.
Sure.
And we played with Dion and the Belmonts, Linda Scott, Jerry Lee Lewis, Don and Juan,
Wow, Dawn and One.
Yeah, what's your
Excellent.
name?
What's your name? Great song.
Right. So,
and I think you sent mentions about Santo and Johnny too.
Santo and Johnny.
Right, and I think were they brothers or cousins, Santo and Johnny?
I never got into that, but they only made
one
that
still
one
lives,
hit.
and one still lives here on Long Island somewhere.
They only had that one big hit.
Yeah, Sleepwalk, which is
gorgeous. It's
one
classic.
of the great instrumentals of the '60s, to be sure.
Total classic.
Yeah,
but it was a great era. It was true music.
Right. Oh, no question about it.
And
you kids that were coming up in the music industry in the rock and roll era of the '50s, I'm sure if you got if you pressed a record and somebody gave you $1,000, that was a lot of money. And there's so many sad stories. A lot of these groups, they got maybe $5,000. They thought it was $1 million, and then they ended up back on the streets again. Right?
Did you ever hear the check is in the mail? Okay.
So, I mean, it wasn't even a thing like,
No.
You were young, you were excited to get there, and nobody was even thinking about royalties then. Everybody thought rock and roll might have been a passing phenom,
Surely.
and that was it, right?
Surely. Well, we were playing at a place in Manhattan called Manhattan Center, and big place. We're setting up, and this little kid comes in, and he's setting up a tenor sax, an alto sax, soprano, and I look at him, and he looks like 15.
Yeah.
So I said to him, "Excuse me, are you the band boy?" He says, "No." He said, "I'm following you." All right. So we go on and we blow the roof off, all right? And I go over to him, I give him a little punch in the shoulder. I said, "Good luck." In other words, try and beat that.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're on radio, so I'll keep it clean.
Yeah, please. It's a family show, Bobby.
So he ripped my back off, all right?
Wow.
He was so good.
Wow.
And he was a man by the name of King Curtis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some big hits back then, King Curtis.
I think he died of an overdose.
What was it? Do you recall what his hit was? I remember the name King Curtis.
Oh, he did a lot of backup.
A lot of backup.
But he did some hits, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just have about a minute before news time, and I want to put you on the spot. But, thinking back on that golden era of rock and roll, in your opinion, who do you think was the finest voice in rock and roll besides yourself?
Thank you. They're very kind. I'm way down on the list. I still think Elvis did so much.
Elvis, yeah. He was a breakthrough guy. There was no question about it.
You know, he went a little nuts at the end. He thought he could do opera and everything else, but he had the voice. I caught him in Vegas toward the end of his career, and he was still great.
All right. We're going to continue our conversation with Bobby King here, and you're going to dust off that saxophone. Was it an alto sax? What type of sax is it?
It's a tenor sax,
sax.
that I bought when I was 13 years old.
You're kidding me.
No.
So that's been through a couple wars with you, right?
It has been.
All right, we continue here on your Radio Factory. Bobby King and John Gallo right here on your Radio Factory, talking classic rock and roll. We continue right after the news in about 10 minutes. WRIV Riverhead.